Now, Ukraine's latest attacks have now set the Russian oil refineries ablaze and have choked the fuel supplies for across the vast nation. The lines are growing at the Russian gas stations and sows the frustration and uncertainty. But the questions, of course, remain, will this pressure now push Putin to end the war? The Russian leader has made a rare admission acknowledging that problems persist, but Putin has insisted that the shortages are not critical, but they're only temporary.
These attacks on our facilities certainly create problems, that is obvious. We are currently seeing a certain shortage, though I would say it is not critical.
But Putin's claims have not reassured everyone, as the fuel crisis is bringing the war home to the ordinary Russians.
I think the situation is not very good. They say one thing on television, and in reality it's another. There's plenty of people waiting in lines. Whether there's gas, I don't know. People are queuing everywhere.
And estimates count over 50 reported attacks by Ukraine on oil refineries, depots, terminals and other oil infrastructure in Russia and Crimea since late March. Now, the amount of crude oil Russia has processed into fuel in June was down by nearly 25% from a year ago, which is the lowest level in over 2 decades. Meanwhile, Ukraine is publicly taunting Moscow over a series of strikes targeting Russia's oil industry. On Tuesday, Ukraine's defense ministry shared a pretty graphic detailing attacks on Russia's oil infrastructure throughout June. And according to the graphic, Ukraine struck Russian oil facilities on 17 of the month's 30 days, and the ex-post ended with a pointed warning: June's done, July's calendar is already loading. The strikes are not limited to oil facilities. Last week, Ukraine's domestically produced Flamingo missiles struck a key military facility more than 300 miles behind the front lines. Now, the long-range missiles, which entered service only last autumn, targeted the Titan Barricade Research and Production Center in the city of Volgograd. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed the strike, which has sparked a fire, saying that the facility was a legitimate target for Ukraine's long-range strikes. Russia is maintaining its assault on Ukrainian cities. It's also launched a glide bomb attack on Zaporizhia, killing at least about 2 people and injuring 15 others. The video on your screen shows the first responders rushing to rescue and to assist the injured in a residential neighborhood. But at least one body can be seen trapped beneath the rubble. The regional governor, Ivan Fedorov, said in a post on Telegram that Russian forces dropped 7 glide bombs on the city in over a 90-minute period. And we earlier spoke to Mr. Ben Aris, who's the founder and editor-in-chief of BNE Intel News, and this is what he had to say on this issue.
However, to put it into context, like the Kremlin's officials were saying, that while there is severe disruptions, nevertheless, this is not a full-blown crisis in the sense that it's going to bring the economy to a standstill. That's not happening. And they're in the process of finding workarounds. That Putin is importing now gasoline from Belarus, which has 2 large refineries and is making up some of the shortfall. The exports of crude to India are now at a record high, and what happens there is they're refined in Indian refineries and sent back. That the production of oil products as opposed to crude is down by about 13-14%. But then that's not going to hurt the budget either, because all the Kremlin's doing is, instead of exporting the higher value petrol, that they're just exporting the crude that they can't process. And so the money to the budget is more or less the same, something like $160 billion last year. So this is severely crippling. It's severely embarrassing, but it's not the sort of killer pressure that's going to force the Kremlin to do anything.
And he also spoke with Professor Scott Lucas. Listen to what he had to say.
This idea of bringing Ukraine into greater Russia is what he has actually staked not just his immediate political future on, but what he will give to Russia. And he, as he restated last weekend in a series of interviews and appearances before his party meeting, he's still dedicated to seizing more Ukrainian territory, specifically the rest of the Donetsk region in the east of the country. So at this point, he's not appearing to be willing to accept a ceasefire based on the current front lines. That said, this pressure on Russia is extremely serious. Only 2 of Russia's major oil refineries have not been hit by Ukraine this year. Most of them have been hit by multiple times. The Moscow oil refinery, responsible for 40% of gasoline and I think up to 50% of diesel in and near Moscow, is offline for 6 months. You have gasoline rationing in more than 50 Russian regions. Russian-occupied Crimea is in danger of being isolated. It has completely banned fuel sales to anyone except the military and essential services. And we have firsthand testimony, courtesy of the independent outlet Medusa, from Russians in terms of what they're feeling, that some of them just cannot actually move now. They are actually stuck in place during the day. And life in some areas of Russia is being crippled, if not pushed to a halt. Does that mean that that will mean Russia has lost? Absolutely not. Does it mean that Putin will quit? Probably not, but it does mean there are serious constraints on a Russian invasion of Ukraine that was already stalling out.